literally made a Justin Timberlake shirt when Justin Timberlake was on the halftime show.
Our third season of Clack is sponsored by Portland Gear, creators of unique, high-quality products inspired by the heart and soul of Portland. Go check them out.
Welcome back, Clackers. Are we calling them Clacker Gang? What are we calling them these days, our fans?
I don't even know. Just
friends. How about just friends?
The community.
The community. Clack community. That's what's up. 3 C's.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
That's a lot of C's, but I'm here for it. But what's up, everybody? We've got an awesome episode today. We have an incredible multidimensional woman. But before we get into that, you know what we're going to do, Jack? Do you want to drop it?
I mean, listen, our community, we would love it if you please like and subscribe to all of our channels on whatever platform that you use, whether that's Apple, Spotify, all the things. That sounded
YouTube.
That sounded freaking good though, low key, didn't it?
I mean, Jackie, you fucking nailed that.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's get into our guests. So we have an incredible woman. Let's just paint a picture of who this woman is. She is not even 30 yet, okay? She's not even 30 yet. This woman graduated from a top broadcast program at Iowa, played basketball in high school before that. She was 22 when she got her job in the NFL in a very, very prestigious program that is very difficult to get into. She then went on to become an NFL commentator, which at her age is basically unheard of. You know, most people are coming up in radio or local news, whatever it is, but she went from college straight into the NFL and really made her mark there, grew in leadership roles. We have Kimmi Chex on the show, and she happens to live in Portland. What a gift to Clack.
Damn, girl, you did that.
Did I do that?
That was fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited to welcome Kimmi on. So what do you think, Jack? You ready to get her on?
I'm so excited to get her on. I was fortunate enough to meet her a couple months ago at Nike. And to me, she's just someone who was so confident, just very authentic and just very sure of herself. And I know that she's going to bring that same energy onto the pod today. I'm super excited to get her on.
Can't freaking wait. She's also a style icon. I'm just going to drop it right there.
Yeah, style icon, mom, like absolutely flawless skin. I'm obsessed with her skin.
I mean, I'm just going to embarrass myself real quick. After I met her at Nike, I was like, I want everything she wore, and I went and bought that same outfit.
I mean, mic drop.
Mic drop. I'm going to embarrass myself. I don't give a shit. Yeah, she's the GOAT. Let's go. Should we get in?
Let's get into it.
Kimmi, welcome to Clack. We are so happy to have you on. Like, what a gift that you live in Portland.
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
What a gift that we met each other, too.
I know. And we met at Nike.
We did.
Which was very special.
Full circle.
Full circle moment for us. But we're so happy to have you on the show. As you know, we're all about celebrating women in sports, women who have broken barriers, done amazing things. You are an NFL commentator. You've been in the NFL for many years. And we're excited to unpack your journey and just like really help our fans see what a multidimensional woman you are and what it looks like to succeed in male sports as well.
Yeah, that was so nice.
So tell us a little bit about your background and just help us understand a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, okay, so I'm Kimmi. I'm from Kansas City originally, which is, I guess, kind of how my sport journey started. My initials are KC, which I don't know if that was on purpose via my parents. My mom likes to take credit for it, of course, or if it was just coincidence. So as a kid, I just would see like KC initials on, you know, Chiefs or Royals gear. We then got an MLS team in Sporting Kansas City, but when I was younger, you know, it was really about Chiefs football and about the Royals. Back in the day, Kansas City had a live house band that was in the end zone. So our family member played the guitar in the band, and because of that, we had tickets. So we would go to games to like watch his gig, which also coincidentally happened to be an NFL game. And then I'm in the stadium filled with all these people who are wearing my initials. So I'm like, this is a winning combination.
It was a sign.
It was
sign from the universe. You're like, I might be here when I'm older.
Yeah. And I think it just subconsciously like hit. It was not something that growing up I was like, I want to work in football. I want to do this. It really was just like loving sports from afar, loving NFL. That was always a sport that I like was just super drawn to, and my heart kind of was like the most invested in. And then as I kind of got older, I went to performing arts high school where I majored in TV and broadcast production. So I like legitimately had a major in school. It was like the show Fame, where like people would just be like beat bopping and dancing and singing in the hallways. So I studied that, and I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. I knew I wanted to be on air. I wanted to be on camera in some capacity, but I just didn't know if it was sport or if it was politics. So then I ended up going to University of Iowa for college because I was like, this is the best of both worlds. But we also have a presidential election every 4 years, and Iowa has the Iowa caucus. So I knew that I could also tap into the political world while also being literally in the middle of nowhere amongst cornfields, and the fact that everybody in the state of Iowa is super into sports. I interned in DC after my freshman year of college and very quickly realized that was not it. And that sports seemed a little bit more unifying. So that's where the journey kind of took a turn. And that's when I was really gung-ho on having sport kind of be at the center of my on-air journey. And then from there, started working from Iowa football, did that. And then I graduated with my job at the NFL. So the NFL has been my first and only technical job since graduating college.
Wow.
I have to say, I've been at an Iowa game before in the midst of their fans, like sitting in the middle of their fan group.
Yeah.
It is the most intense fans I've ever been around in my life.
It is. They are insane.
So Kimmi, you also played basketball, right?
I did. Back in high school, I did.
Okay,
and
baller.
I was like semi-decent-ish. Not
Baller.
your medium baller. I'm just like, I'm not even full.
You've
I'm
got
just,
like decent height on you, though.
I do have decent height.
Yeah.
I'm super aggressive. I'm super competitive.
Okay.
I box a mother trucker
I
out.
could see you being hella strong.
I don't know. I never necessarily saw myself as an athlete. I think like, now being older, I wish I would have stuck with it a bit more. Because I just think it's so incredible to see women as athletes and like the power we possess, and the fact of like, I don't know, maybe it's my overconfidence, but I feel like if I really wanted to do it, I probably could have, but I just never like saw that for myself, which is really interesting, but obviously still landed up in the world of sports.
We often talk about on this show, because as you know, I was not an athlete. I talk about that all the time. And I think that sport can be such a conduit for success in women's
100%.
lives. And like, look at your path now, and your love of sport gets to lead so much of what you do. You're just not in the athlete seat, but you were there at one point. And every girl has a sports story. And I was like you, I was like very competitive. I was very fast. I knew I could perform. I just didn't have the confidence to see that through, but I do think it's always stuck with me in everything I do, just
What's
for
also
its
interesting
success.
is I was like a 3-sport athlete in high school, like all varsity sports.
Yep.
I was like, I don't know. I just have a very
Basketball,
like my dad was
soccer, volleyball.
No. Well, yes, no. Basketball.
Okay, let me guess. Fine. Track and field.
Track and field.
Oh,
Swimming?
I was
No.
track and field too.
Softball.
No.
What the fuck?
Dance?
I was dance, but not in school. I was a like very classical ballet dancer.
Oh, okay.
And cheerleader.
Fire.
Which that's athletes too. Those are
Absolutely.
some
The Minnesota
boss-
Vikings cheerleaders. Can't even talk about my obsession with them.
I'm obsessed
I
with
watch
all
their
of them.
videos constantly.
I know.
They
Same,
are
so do I.
incredible.
They're total badasses. But what's interesting, what I was gonna say is, I was so like athletically gifted, but at that time, like it wasn't something where I think even my school or the support system around me outside of my family like championed female athletes. It wasn't a thing now where like you see athletes and young girls in middle school and high school and you're like, you have the skill that you could take this professionally. That was never the conversation. So that's why, again, I don't think I ever pursued it or even saw it on my radar. Like I just was in an environment where it was so academic, where sports was a side thing, but the emphasis was you should really just focus on academics, and success is being a traditional doctor or lawyer. It was just never anything that I think I was like really cheer-led to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, and I think the narrative too was go build that skill to make money.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's call it what it is. Women were not making money in their sports or enough money to succeed, and like they're high risk, high reward. Like, that very well. And Jackie is obviously an example of someone who did succeed at the highest level in sport, but such a small percentage of girls actually get there. But like your point about sort of the flip of what the opportunity is. I mean, you're a mom, I'm a mom, we're raising kids, you hope to be a mom, to tell girls that, hey, you could actually make money doing this.
Yeah,
and it
it's
isn't
great.
just some secondary thing. I mean, to me, that's like the changing of an entire industry when things like that happen. And I think, I remember being dissuaded from doing something because my parents were like, oh, you're not going to make money doing that. Yeah. And I'm like, is that the narrative that we're feeding into our kids?
It's interesting because like you're such a product of your environment too. Like my parents, my whole life from when I was a little girl, were telling me like sports is your thing. Like, you're going to do this, you're going to be successful, you're going to be, and at the time in 1996, when I was a little girl, the WNBA happened.
Yep.
So it was like, this is where you could be, you know? So I think it's just a product of your environment, like what you were taught to do and what you were kind of pushed to do from, like, I don't know, your inner circle. Kimmi, how did you earn your respect and credibility as a host in such a male-dominated industry?
Ooh, I don't know. Have I earned the respect and credibility yet?
That's the question.
Maybe. I think it's like a super evolving process. Like, my path on air at the NFL was so non-traditional because I started as a business analyst, like in the league office, and then transitioned on air like a year into joining the league, which was completely unheard of at the time. And I think even now I'm still working on that because part of the hill I've had to climb and the battle I've had to overcome just even internally at the NFL is no longer being seen as what I came in as. So when I joined the league, I was one of 7. It's called the Junior Rotational Program. They take 7 grads. You sign a 2-year contract. You're a fully vested and compensated employee with full benefits.
That's amazing.
I think a lot of people think it's like an internship. I was like a full-fledged employee, but we were just rotational analysts. For 2 years, we had a contract, and every 6 months, we would rotate departments. And the thought was, let's bring the youngest, freshest, brightest talent into the league. Let's expose them to as many areas of the business as possible. And then if we invest in them for 2 years, the hope is that they make such an impression, they then land full-time in one of our departments on a desk. And then they've had exposure to so many other parts of the business, they can now take that expertise and use it. You're there to grind. You are technically free labor for these departments because you're being paid via HR. Not to say that people don't give me the respect, because I feel so lucky and I feel so incredibly respected. But I think a lot of people have maybe made assumptions that it was by luck or it was by chance, not understanding the back end work that it took, and the fact of I've been training to be on air since I was like a little girl. None of this was just falling into the right place. It was insane amount of work ethic and risk and trial and tribulation to get there. So even now, I understand every single time I'm on air, I have to be great. And that's a lot of pressure, right? I think you automatically feel that as a woman because anything that you get incorrect will be double scrutinized. As a woman of color, you'll probably be triple scrutinized. Not being a former player of the game itself, you get scrutiny for that. So it's all these very nuanced layers that I'm so mindful of, that at times I have to break that from my brain so that I don't become robotic and don't feel like I'm just a mechanic spitting facts or spitting stats. Thankfully, I've gained a lot of respect for my colleagues and coworkers because I do the work. I'm so incredibly careful and relentless in that pursuit, because your reputation in this business is everything. And as quickly as you rise, it's just as quickly as you fall. So I think the respect is an evolving process, and I hope that I'm respected and hope that I've earned that credibility, but it's just being as close to perfect as I can in terms of knowing the game and presenting it in a way that any single person that turns on the television can understand what I'm saying, regardless of if they're a football fan or not.
Do you feel the pressure of just actually having to know the ins and outs of the game? Because I can't imagine coming into the game at such a late age and then trying to speak to the game, right? I've been talking about basketball since I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And then even I use Lauren as an example, someone who's new to sports and new to women's basketball. And I see how curious she is, and she's constantly researching, constantly trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I commend her and I applaud her every day for this, because it's so hard to do, to be taught, to learn something that so many people have invested their whole lives in. So I imagine you feel a ton of pressure with that.
It is. It's a lot of pressure. And then that's where I'm really thankful for some of my exposure and experiences. working for Iowa football and actually being inside of a facility and inside of a building, like by no means, I was like a student assistant. By no means was I, in the minutia of it all, but just having exposure to like how a coaching staff operates. Iowa football is incredibly old school, incredibly traditional. We have the longest tenured football coach in NCAA history. I think seeing the way that he operates, the way that he led the team, the way that his coaching staff operated, like that's something you can't learn if you're from the outside. So I'm so grateful to have had that exposure and that experience. The Kansas City Chiefs are incredible. I go back home and I'm with them for the preseason, and they bring me out for random events and kind of side projects and keep me really close. And being able to be with, arguably, and biased, but the most dominant professional sports team right now across any league is amazing, because you get that one-to-one connection with the players, but with the coaching staff, with the front office, and like being in those environments as somebody who wasn't raised in that space, the exposure is the knowledge. Huge, and the fact that like football is so Americana, and anytime you're at a bar or a restaurant or a Sunday or even a Saturday for college football or Friday night lights, or even now we have games on Thursdays and Mondays, having that in the background of knowing that like football is at every corner and you can still absorb the game even from like an outside view has been really helpful too.
What do you feel like the value is of having more female voices be in such a male dominated sport like the NFL?
Our fan base is very much like 51%, 49% male, female. Oh, wow. Again, fact checked, and I should like text somebody and ask them. But if you actually look at the fan bases across all 32 teams, and even now internationally, it is so split evenly between male and female fandom. So I think understanding that is, if we have all of these fans that are women should be at the table when having conversations about football. There are incredible female analysts of the game. There are incredible hosts. There are incredible reporters. Like women, now coaches, referees, front office staff. Like women have infiltrated every single part of the game. And I don't even think infiltrate should be the right word I use. Women have belonged in every single part of the game for so long. My job is to make sure I put the people who do know everything in the right position to explain it, not only to myself, but to everybody else watching. I've just found that women are just fucking bosses.
You mentioned the fan base and it being fairly split.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think it's only been in the last couple of years where I've been like, maybe I could watch the NFL be on the halftime show. Maybe there's a place for me. Right now, my obsession is truly women's sports because I'm just sort of taken with a lot of the athletes. But I also feel myself very drawn to like women like you and women who are creating really interesting innovation within the NFL. And then we talk about Taylor Swift. And I can't not bring up Taylor because you mentioned this split, right? And I think a lot of the public attributes the shift in fan base to Taylor, both being a younger fan, but also more of a female fan. Would you say that's true? Or do you think this has been happening a lot?
I think, of course, she is an incredible global superstar with fan bases all over the world, and that helps. It helps. I think this has been happening for a really long time, and I think it's been strategic on the NFL's part. Like, if you look at kind of the rise in flag football, which is both female and male, if you look at kind of youth sports and what the NFL has been doing, this has been something that the football operations team has been like really locked in on, because understanding the growth of the game is knowing that the game has to be equitable. The game has to be equitable for both male and female fans. It needs to be equitable both nationally here in the US and internationally. So while we've been expanding the knowledge of the game, I think naturally the game has taken like such an obsession across kind of the world and across kind of both traditional genders in that sense. So I think Taylor has definitely helped. And that's incredible. But like, the NFL's also smart. Like the creation of the halftime show. It's strategic to have a halftime show and knowing like if there's a draw for a performer, you're probably going to get more fans that are outside 100%. Of the typical like white male fan that maybe was originally an NFL.
I think basketball too is starting to pick up on that a little bit, just like having better halftime shows.
Jackie sat behind Kaylani at the last at the last playoff
Daddy,
game,
love her.
freaking obsessed with her.
Obsessed.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a draw when you can bring in that talent. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but Beyonce's halftime show was my favorite of all time.
Oh, it was the best.
Okay,
I mean,
like
yeah, it's
favorite
up
of all
there.
time. Literally made a Justin Timberlake shirt when Justin Timberlake was on the halftime show.
It's,
Like,
I will
made it.
say, I've been lucky enough to be at every Super Bowl since I've been
Damn,
at the
girl.
league.
We know that the WNFC and flag football for women are going to be a part of the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah.
What do you think that means for women football players?
Oh I think it's huge. I think having the world see football and women be really dominant in football is gonna like change the game. Again, this is something that's not new, but I think it's new to the world's view. And this is something that the league has like been really excited about for a really long time. And a lot of the clubs, NFL clubs, have like partner flag teams or flag teams that they help sponsor in their local communities that are, a lot of them are co-ed. And I don't think we all fully understand how many insanely talented flag athletes
Yeah.
there are. It's incredible. And the fact that like all of these other countries also have flag. I think football in general has kind of been assumptive only to the United States and only to men. So for the world to see it in a completely different viewpoint of like female led and female dominated and on an international scale, it's going to be incredible. Predictions and hot takes are, for me, is that if the US loses, like people are going to lose their mind only because
100%,
I think it's going to be
100%.
so insanely competitive
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people may not be paying attention to women's US flag football now or the American team, but they are going to be like red, white, and blue.
100%.
Like those are our athletes. And I hope that in this next Olympics, like the same way that we all gather around a TV to watch track and field or watch
Yeah.
the gymnastics or even basketball, like I hope we have that same attention and attraction to flag because it's fast, it's high flying, it's incredible athletes. And I think we in the US are so accustomed to the game.
Yeah.
Noticing the differences between the game is going to be really nuanced and really fun. And it's easy for us to digest because it's not like it's
Yeah.
a game completely out of the blue.
I'm super excited for women's flag football because how I see basketball between men and women is women play so much with their mind, right? And their head.
Yep.
And men play with a lot of athleticism and speed and quickness. Not that we don't have that too, but I'm excited to watch women's flag football because it's not like a tackle football situation. So there's going to be a lot of like mental aspects to it, and women are so smart in the way that they operate, like on the court, on
Always
the
a
field,
strategy.
you know? So
Always
that's
a strategy.
it's
Always
going to be
a
fun to
That's
watch.
a good call out too. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll have to have a watch party.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
well,
making all of these plans. I love it.
know.
Tailgates, football games.
It's somewhere between 15 to 18 states now have accredited flag football for at the high school level. Oregon is on the docket, and it really does start at the high school level. We always talk about, we feel like becoming an athlete like kind of starts in high school, and then if you go play in college, like you've kind of risen to that level where you can kind of sort of take that badge. And high school, I mean, you think about the opportunities within college that's going to then exist. I mean, it's going to create a whole new industry.
It is.
And that is what I get really excited about is when I see organizations like the NFL investing in youth, because that is the only way that these sports exist in the future and create more access and opportunity and equity.
I think come like 10, 15 years, maybe even less than that, like the women who will be commenting on the game will probably be former athletes, former or current athletes. And I hope that they don't have that barrier of entry that, you know, maybe a lot of us previously had faced.
The one thing I think about though is we know injuries higher in lateral sports generally for women, and like there's still such a gap in women's health and understanding injury. We talk about it all the time because of what Jackie's been through. And so I do think that as these sports grow, it's going to put even more pressure on better understanding the female body, our anatomy, our physiology, because we're also going to see these girls get injured at a higher rate. And so I would just, you know, these sports produce like the athletes are the products, right? That's where we're making the most money. We invest in the products. They do that so well on the men's side, right? Cristiano Ronaldo spends $1 million on his health every single year. Okay, $1 million. That's wild. And I'm sure some of the NFL players too are making 200, 300, whatever $1 million. Women don't have that kind of access yet. Yeah. And so I just think that we have to figure out how to build the full infrastructure, not just like, oh, go play these sports. Let's build these teams. And I just think for me, that's been a big gap. And it's been a big reason why I'm like, I don't, this might be controversial to say to you, but like, I'm not sure I want my kid to play football. Like,
Totally
I'm gonna be
understand.
honest, like I'm nervous about it. It's a sport that makes me afraid with some of the things we've seen around CTE and just injury. And so, I guess for me, it's like I want to understand what they're doing to evolve women's health to then want to maybe let my girls play those types of sports.
Yeah, that's a really great call out. That's a really good call out.
Just my 2 cents.
There's currently several women working in the NFL as coaches, execs, scouts. What impact do you think that this has had on the league?
I mean, I think the league is like evolving in the best way possible. I also don't think that these women would be there if they weren't qualified. I think there's been like so many conversations on the DEI of it all, and if people are actually getting positions because it's deserved or because it's checking a box. We forget that the league itself, myself included, right? We technically all report to 32 billionaires, and I've never met a billionaire who doesn't want to win and who is not about the bottom line and the bottom dollar. I don't think people would be hiring people just to check a box. Like, this is a league that is so incredibly important and has so much on the line that there's too much to risk if people weren't qualified. So I want to dispel that myth and that notion like right away that people are in positions because it's not earned or it's not deserved. Women have joined every single part of the game because they're competent, because they're incredible, because they bring value, because they make the league better, because they win football games, because they help heal athletes, and because they lead boardrooms. And we have female owners of the teams, and we have female presidents, and we're very hopeful very soon to have, a female GM. We have female coaches. We have females in the front office of the league office itself, and then across all 32 of our teams. Like, women are in every single part of football. And I don't know if maybe that's not assumed or if people want to like brush over that, but anytime you go to a football facility, whether it's collegiate or even professional in the NFL, you are going to run into women. So it's become really equitable in that sense. Of course, there's so much more work to do, but women have really sat at the forefront of the strategic kind of vision of the league and what's next. And I don't think that's by coincidence. I think it's because they found the most badass people who just happen to be really badass women.
You mentioned everywhere you go, you will see a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That was really prolific to me when you said that. And we always talk about equity for women's sports because we have a belief system that if you play sport at any level, you will win in life, whether you're a Jackie or a Lauren or a Kimmi. It's not just about growing women's sports. It is for sure. But we also have to focus on what's happening for women in men's sports because that's the only way that we're going to see equity. For example, the woman who started the Women's Professional Baseball League, which is kicking off next year, inaugural season, was an MLB coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, imagine these women who are now becoming coaches, commentators, women that understand the game in and out, who then can coach future teams.
Yeah.
And women's teams and men's teams. Like, that's the dream, It's just sport. We say, like, is it women's sports or is it sports? We have this discussion all the time. And part of us is like, well, we get to own it, right? It's our sport, women's sports. But also, like, it's sports. And women should be at every part of it.
100%.
So, anyway,
and there's still so much, like, room to go. But now it's, when you go into an NFL facility, it's not just like a men's locker room. It's like there's a women's locker room. There's a women's bathroom.
Please tell me there's perfume.
There are things where, even in the gear that teams, give out to their employees on games days, right? Like, I remember before years ago, it's like, oh, well, here the men's polo and you can just like have it in a, in a small. It's like, no, we also have gear for the women who are part of the teams.
I personally love that there's a lot more women in these roles and like around men's sports, but I'm still looking super forward to a men's league to hire a head female coach.
Yeah.
Like Dawn Staley for the Knicks maybe next year, or Becky Hammon was up for some jobs.
Yep.
I think that's really going to be the leap for me when a female gets a head job in a men's league.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that day to happen. And it's you never, in my opinion, maybe. I think there's so much pressure being the first because the stakes are so high.
Right.
It's like the second you have a losing season, or the second
we were just talking
you
about
start 0-3, or like I know that there was just a transition that's happening now, with the Liberty on the WNBA side, where it's like, wait, so you don't win it all one year and then your job's kind of left hanging in the balance. I think that we have to be really smart as fans to hold teams accountable when that time does come. And like, let's allow the exact same grace process that we do for the male coaches that we have now. We've seen that kind of interracially at times, of some disparities between coaches of color and maybe non-coaches of color. There's so much power in our collective voices. And I know we're just in a really weird time kind of socially and even politically, but I think we hold so much strength in our like collective unity that the second that the leagues feel that impact, they're going to ensure that like they're equitable and they make those changes, because at the end of the day, there's no W without the fans. There's no NFL without the fans. And we bring so much power, so much buying power, so much money into all of these teams and these games itself. Like, we should ensure that our voices are heard just as much as everyone else. So the second there is a female, NBA coach or a female NFL coach, like, we are just as loud for them as we are for the superstars of the team.
And then we will have a female president.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is I've said this since the very beginning. I've always said if we can grow women's sports equitably, whether it's women in sports or women's sports as the actual sport, we can have a female president, because when it comes to sports, exactly what you said, it transcends anything. So speaking of, as it pertains to women in leadership roles, we want to see more women in the NFL. So we were talking a little bit about the combine earlier. I know there's a NFL like women's forum there. So can you help us understand what that is?
Yes. Oh my gosh. The women's forum is incredible. A really dear friend of mine, Sam Rappaport, helped create this women's forum. It's a forum where she kind of hand selects, alongside a selection committee, the top talent from all sector of football and just sport in general. And she brings together a group of incredible women for 2 to 3 days in Indianapolis at the combine. So it is the most powerful, incredible room of badasses. These are women who all have goals to work for an NFL team. They're selected based on their experience. So these are a lot of women that already work within the game or in different parts of sport, collegiately, even at the high school level. Some people already, on the NFL side, and they have access to all of the coaches and all of the front office staff across all 32 teams. Sam is a total rock star, incredible, amazing human who saw this void and then created the space. And because of her reputation, because the league helped facilitate and kind of put their weight behind this, it has garnered so much respect from the coaches that they make it a point and priority to meet these women. So they get a booklet with all of their contact information for the women, with all of their resumes. They have closed door interviews and sessions with these coaches and with these teams. They have an opportunity where they can meet everybody like pre-combine. Like the week before, you get on a Zoom with Commissioner Goodell, with his wife Jane. They've both been huge advocates and supports of this effort since its creation. And it's people from all of the league offices as well. And they get on this Zoom, and the women have like a 45-second elevator pitch before they even walk in the door. So then teams can kind of identify like, hey, I really liked her personality, or like, I loved her experience, and they can go into that knowing. And then that helps set up their interviews for the week. And through that program, I mean, the amount of talent that has been hired directly from the Women's Forum, thanks to Sam Rappaport and her staff of support, is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, we
Shout
have
out to Sam.
Sam is the best. She has just created something so magical. And from that, like, this last year, Autumn Lockwood, who is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles, like, she went and won a Super Bowl. She's a Super Bowl champion. I remember knowing her and meeting her at that forum. I think this was, 2 or 3 years ago now. So it's a direct one-to-one of like, if you're in that room, you then have an opportunity and exposure to the right people. The combine, right, is so much focus on the prospective players who are going into this next draft class. But because of that, every single person in the NFL world is there, and you're in Indy, you're there for a week. It's a small environment.
Now I'm going to be obsessed with the combine. I'm going to just be researching it and wanting to know everything
It's
about
cool.
it.
You know what? Let's plant a seed. You guys should come and cover the women's forum for Clack next year.
That would be fire.
Yeah.
What am I going to say?
Chills.
Full body chills.
Full body chills.
That's my like trademark.
Yes.
But I'm just going to say something really declarative here. I have never seen myself in the NFL. Never. I've always felt like so male dominated, not for me. My husband's obsessed with it, literally lives and breathes it. But hearing your story and the way you talk about it, Kimmi, and that's what I truly feel like is the power of our show, is bringing voices like yours and a totally different perspective to engage women and help women see a place for themselves in this important sport. Because let's be real, it is the most profitable sport in the entire world. And there is such an important seat for women here to succeed and help sports grow for women across all leagues. And so I think that's the power of these conversations when we get to see you commentating and talking about the game and doing your thing and killing it. But then we get to go behind the scenes and hear your story, how you got here, what a multidimensional woman you are. We know your mom too. It's like, that's what more women need to see.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get off my fangirl wagon right now.
No, I love it. You guys are hyping me. I love it. No, I think there's a space for all of us. And I think the more nuance and the more context we can give to like how we got here is so important. And we live in such an age of social media where it's just the highlight reels, which is lovely, but we should be honest about what it takes and all of the resources that are out there too, because I think at a point in time, there were so few that everybody just wanted to gatekeep and keep things so close to the chest because there's no way I could allow you into this space because here I am just fighting to survive as well. And now that's completely been flipped on its head. And I just am very much of the mind of like, we all are so different in so many ways. And like my superpower, nobody else has.
I'm no joke, want to go watch an NFL game now. I'm not kidding. Like,
and they're fun. Like it's
Jackie, the fact that I'm saying that.
I think my coaching role has now been, I'm fired. I think she needs to be your new coach.
No, I don't think I could be a coach.
I love how confident you are and how authentic you are.
I just am at a point in my life where if I can't be authentically myself or authentically in a space, like it's just the stakes are too fucking high. I've got too much other stuff going on in my life that like what you see is what you're going to get. And I refuse to like beg for respect. I refuse to beg to be seen. And if that transitions me in life at some point to not have as many opportunities or not be in certain places, like all good, because it's not the values I want to instill in my daughter. It's not the values that I want to portray to the world. So there's no point in being an asshole or gatekeeping or acting as if I deserve to be on some high horse because I have this really cool job.
Having more women like you and us in these situations where we're up, we're talking, we're being authentic, that's going to help tell the next generation of girls that you can be too.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts, you know?
Think like a man. That's how I operate. I'm like
a man.
Apply for the thing you're not qualified for, talk when you're not necessarily being spoken to. If we all just operate like a white dude, I think we could start getting ahead a little bit.
So let's talk about the importance of mentors. Yeah. I think we all have them, right? And I know everything that you have built for yourself, you've done it on your own and you've worked super hard and everything that you have, like you've earned it. I do think that there's people along the way that like can help open doors for you. I know there was for me too, and give you kind of a seat at the table. Can you share a little bit about like who that person was for you?
Yeah. I mean, I've had so many mentors and ironically, a lot of my mentors have been like non-traditional in the sense of like, it wasn't necessarily another woman in the industry. I think that's like the obvious answer. My mentors like started all the way back like in high school. When I went to my performing arts school, my high school teacher for broadcast journalism to this day is like one of my closest friends and confidants. He just like identified something in me like really early and was like, you can do this. And like, if you want to, you can. And just having somebody say that and kind of affirm that so early on for me, I was like, you're right. Mentorship in the context of our relationship was not that he was, super powerful or could help open doors. It was more so like, I'm going to reaffirm the magic that you possess and I'm just going to champion you. And the way in which I can champion you is teaching you the fundamentals of like good traditional broadcast journalism. So he was an incredible mentor of mine. And then now it's like people in the industry who aren't necessarily on air. Like one of my best friends, Aisha, she's incredible. And now she's a coordinating producer for Monday Night Football, their pregame show. She was at NFL Network. She started her career at ESPN, was at NFL Network for years, which is how we met. And then she went back to ESPN and she led SportsCenter from LA. And then now is transitioning to Monday Night Football. And like, just having her as a resource, because she's someone who, again, is not necessarily on air, but she deals with talent on a daily basis. I've just realized the people in my corner are people who I call them like my board of directors. Like they all represent something so incredibly different, so that I know I can go to all of them and kind of get a pulse check on like, is this right? Is this wrong? How would you guide me? And through it, there's a friendship. And one of the important things with a lot of these like quote unquote mentors in my life, and they're really just friends, is that there's never been any competitive nature. And again, I think mentorship can be tricky in the sense of like, people can sometimes be threatened as you ascend. We all have our lanes, and I think that's why collectively, like, we can give each other so much, because there's no fear of anyone stepping on anyone's toes. My mom has been my mentor. My husband's been my mentor. Like, it's not necessarily been people in my same professional space. It's been people who just like innately want me to succeed and be safe and be happy.
That's amazing. A mentor doesn't have to be someone that like you necessarily within your work scope, you know? And like, it just like your perspective on that is really cool. So it kind of like helps me want to reshape my answer.
Good. And it's my perspective has changed on that recently.
I think too that women tend to get very competitive even in mentorship perspectives, because there hasn't been as many seats at the table.
Yeah.
But the reality is what creates more seats is when we create room for each other.
Yeah.
And we help each other grow. And we like, even with Jackie, me, you know, like Jackie's sitting courtside at a playoff game. I'm like, you go! Like, you know, and I'm like at home with my kids all over me screaming, won't let me watch the goddamn game. I'm like, you know what? I am so proud of what she's built in her career. And like, she brings that energy here with Clack as well. And I want other women to have those opportunities to succeed as well. I want my daughter to have those opportunities. I don't want her to ever be in a situation like I have been in, which I think all of us have probably been in, where a woman tears you down.
Yeah.
And that's just not, that's not it.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think we can be the change. So Kimmi, looking back on our conversation, you started your broadcast career even before you knew you were going to be a broadcaster. You have achieved these incredible accomplishments in the NFL, in, let's be real, still a very male-dominated space, but you are leading and changing the game. And you're a mother, which that's a huge title in itself. And we always talk about the multidimensional woman on this show. You are so obviously that. So how do you find the balance? Like, what advice would you give to women that want to have big careers and want to succeed, but also want to have a family and find some sense of purpose at home too?
Oh my God. It's so heavy. It's so nuanced, right? That's why I'm always like, I don't have time for the bullshit. The stakes are too high. Like, you know,
Yeah.
It's like, I have a purpose so outside of my professional world that is like so fulfilling. But for me, I was really lucky that I signed a long-term deal at the NFL and NFL Network before I had my kids. And I'm so thankful to my agent. At the time, she was a female agent, Kristen Bredis La Femina, who's still a champion of mine to this day, and she's incredible. She was like, hey, you're going to sign a 4-year deal, which in broadcast is like a very long time. It's a big deal. And I was kind of like, well, no, like that seems kind of, you know, I think my first deal was 2 years or something, or maybe a year and an option year. I don't even remember. So 4 years seemed so long. And she's a mom. She has 2 incredible kiddos. She was like, Kim, you're young. You just got married. She's like, there's going to be a time where you're ready to have a family. And my job as your agent is to ensure that you're put in the best position to succeed for when that time comes. And that time coincidentally came pretty quickly after I got married and I had my daughter, and I did not feel the fear of losing my job because I knew contractually I was going to succeed and like be set up for success on the back end. Another thing is that and I say this like so humbly, I had the dream job. A lot of people fight to get there, and they put their life on the back burner. And I was lucky enough to like have that dream job. A lot of people are like, well, where'd you get your start? Did you start in local radio or like local sport TV? It's like, no, I started at the NFL. So had my daughter, which was amazing and life-changing in every single way that being a mom is. And then, you know, I very quickly had my son after. So I've had 2 back-to-back maternity leaves, which is tricky in and of itself. And the NFL has been so supportive, but like, by no means do I have the magic answer as to like how to balance it or what the implications of that decision may be on my career in the long run. I've just always been someone who understood that life is so short, and I'm so passionate. So when I feel a passion and a love, like I have to chase it. And the love I had for my family and wanting to grow and expand my family is going to take over every single thing else. It's just this insane balance that every day I still go back and forth on. It's like working in the NFL and just in sport in general, we all understand, like, you work weekends, you work nights, you work holidays, your schedule's not traditional. I'm like, kids are cool. And when they're young, just strap them on you and put them on a plane. I fell in love. I had my kids, and guess what? I'm still young. So I think about it now where I'm like, now I'm done having kids, so I got a lot of work in front of me. Girl. And like, shout out to whoever wants to, continue this ride with me.
Kimmi, this has been probably one of my favorite interviews. I'm gonna be honest. Having you on our pod, like, I think we could have talked for hours, honestly. We had to physically cut ourselves off, but you are such a testament to hard work, an athlete mindset, being approachable, being a woman who cares about other women, and just thank you for being here and coming on this show and supporting so many women in sports.
Love you guys.
I agree with all that.
I second it. I know I loved being here. You guys are incredible. You built something so fun, and like, thank you for welcoming me to this Portland community too. It's only been a year of being here, and I just met you guys like 2 months ago, and just the effort and intention you guys have made is not lost on me. So thank you.
It's just the beginning, my friend. Jack, I think I'm an NFL fan now because, again, I think this is the power of seeing women behind the scenes, telling their story, talking about what it took for them to get there. And she was just an inspiration. I mean, honestly, it was probably one of my favorite interviews to date. What do you think?
Yeah, she was so good. I was so captivated by her when she would speak, because she speaks so freaking eloquently, and like, she's just so thoughtful in all of her, answers too. But I loved her story. I think she's grinded to be where she's at right now in her career. Like, everything was earned. I just loved her point of view on like mentorship. That was something for me that really hit home. I just loved how intentional she was about that. And like, her mentors in her life have not necessarily been, someone in her industry or someone that she's looked up to, but just people around her. And for me, I think that really just opened up my mind, like I said in the interview, of just like, let me kind of reshape the way that I think about my mentors too, because like, yes, I have mentors that have like helped me in my career and put me in very good positions to be successful, as a sports agent. But I think just like, my family and all these different people around me that have just like supported me and, helped me get to these places, like those are also my mentors and people that like have sacrificed for me. And like, I don't know, I just think the way that she put that for me was really just amazing. And she's so cool.
Yeah, the lesson learned here is that mentorship can come from very unexpected places. And I think all of us need to be open and have an open heart and an open mind when it comes to learning. And she's just someone who, to me, strikes me as someone who's just, she's so hungry to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the most successful people. Even, again, I always bring it back to us and what we're building in some ways too, because every single interview we do, we get smarter. Mm-hmm. Whether it's how we interview, who we interview, what we take away from those interviews. And I hope that our listeners feel that same way from every episode, because you guys, this isn't just about sports. I hope our fans know that now, right? It's not just about sports. It's about sports being the fuel to help women succeed in life at every level, whether you want to be a commentator like Kimmi, or you want to be a jockey and you go in the WNBA, or you want to be like Lauren and go into corporate America and build things, build products. Like, there's so much opportunity, and women need to talk about all those other things that make them successful. And so I feel, for me, her interview was so spot on to hit that story for us.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. Like, it was so spot on too, in the sense of like, what a multidimensional woman, just someone who has been so well-rounded in her life. Like, she's done so many different things. I think how it all came together in her story and how it was told, like, it was really cool.
So we're very lucky to have her here in Portland. Her wealth of experience in sports. I'm going to learn a lot more about the NFL through her. Nick is going to be very upset because he's been trying for many, many years to get me to like the NFL. It just takes a strong woman to get me in somehow. Get me in. But So to end the episode today, we typically start talking about how we're hungry and snacks and we need to get off the air, whatever. But I want to leave you all with a little bit of an uplifting message. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds great.
And I would say take what you learned from this episode and go find a mentor that you would never expect to be a mentor. A friend, someone who you work with who maybe isn't in your field. Go take a chance on someone else and see what you can learn, because I think you'll find yourself very surprised in the end.
I love that.
So let's
Sounds
end
good to
on
me.
a positive note.
Yeah,
You
let's
like
do
that?
it. I think that's
All
great.
right. Well, love you, Jack. It was fun as always.
I love you too.
Let's go, girl.
Great job.